Hello, my people. So here we are, back again. I think it's been 2 months. It is February 2nd, 2026. Um, yeah, I've been away for 2 months and pretty focused on a lot of different changes. I've been working, which has been good. I I had a neuropsych exam, which was revealing, um, testing my uh, um, just cognitive stuff related to chemotherapy and all of that. So that's been a long time coming. So I got results from that, which are their results. Some of it encouraging, some of it not encouraging, but getting through that. Um, I was ordained at my church, which is pretty cool, right? Um, so as a deacon, so that's all good stuff. So I've been ultra busy, and I've been failing to get on this daily. However, I've missed it 100%. It's been a missing component to what I do on a daily basis. Now, it's not to say I don't read the Bible and I don't pray, of course, but this in particular has been a missing component. So I wanted to get back to it. I've had a couple people ask me if I'm continuing to do it. I met with a friend online yesterday, um, and they said, when I started talking about it, I said, I think it's been a couple months now, and she agreed. She said it's been a couple months. So, anyways, so here I am back, and I wanted to pick up right where we had left off, and I wanted to jump into Romans 12. Um, Specifically, and I said, oh, again, typical thing where I said I'm going to read a bunch of verses, or I said I'm going to get through verses 1 through 3 today, and I don't know. After about an hour and a half, I am just getting through verse 1. So I'm going to jump right into that, and I'll just read my notes, what I put together. Um, in fact, I'm going to reread what I wrote down when I first started this morning. Reread this. I've been away for 2 months, working, serving, preparing, focusing, pulled towards laziness and complacency at times, in the thick of spiritual warfare, and putting on the full armor of God. In many ways, living out the idea of a living sacrifice and being blessed through it. Um, and and really, I have been blessed through it, just because I've been through that refocusing, refining. We talk about refining, or the refiner's fire and all that. There's been a lot going on, and it's like when you take an angle grinder to a piece of metal, and you're getting off all the imperfections and grinding away um, the the burrs and the debris off of the edges. So, anyways, so that's it's just what I've been going through, um, and God has been speaking to me through it, and um, giving me discernment. So I've actually needed the last couple of months to really understand that I'm absolute about the directions that I'm going. So in this, though, I said, I think Paul speaks to the renewing of our minds through a living sacrifice, and the fact that we as humans have a need or desire to see transformation happen around us spiritually and within us spiritually. It's just this built-in desire. So I'm going to go ahead and read Romans 12, verses 1 through 3, even though we're just going to get through verse 1. But Romans 12, 1 through 3, and this is New American Standard. Therefore, I urge you, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. For through the grace given to me, I say to everyone among you, not to think more highly of himself than he ought to think, but to think so as to have sound judgment, as God has allotted to each a measure of faith. So that is a lot of stuff. That's a lot of information when you dig into it. So again, I got into verse 1. And where he says, therefore I urge you, that word urge, right? I urge you, what is it? Parakaleo, to call near, to invite, to invoke, to beseech, to call for, be of good comfort, desire. There's so many variations on that, but I urge you, I desire for you, or I entreat you, I call for you. I call for you, brethren, by the mercies of God, and the mercies of God is this, I don't even know how to say that, oiktermos, I don't know. So, but anyways, by the mercy, by the pity of God. And so by the pity of God, what does it mean to pity? At the core, it is to have compassion upon. So mercy or pity, mercy is a form of love determined by the state or condition of its objects. Their state is one of suffering and need, while they may be unworthy or ill-deserving. Mercy is at once the disposition of love, respecting such, and the kindly ministry of love for their relief. All this is going to be in my notes, by the way. Excuse me. But the mercy, in this mercy and compassion, as we look at the word compassion, in many instances, compassion is compassion is the rendering of the Hebrew words elsewhere translated mercy. So we're digging deeper in. So compassion, where we read that God had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. So it means spared. So ultimately, compassion or spared. 2 Chronicles 36, verses 15 and 17. He had compassion upon his people and on his dwelling place, so he spared them. So the Lord is full of compassion, James 5:11. So he is full of sparing. So just as a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. Psalms 103, verses 13. So it's just an interesting set of words that can be interlaced with mercies. So, it's compassion, mercy, and sparing. So, by the sparing of God, present your bodies as a living and holy sacrifice. So, by the sparing of God, to present or exhibit your bodies not only singularly or individually, okay, but as a body, the whole body of believers, as a living and holy sacrifice. So, I believe that what Paul is getting at here is he's speaking to us individually and then as a whole body of believers, that we need to be presenting our body, not only individually, but present the body of the church, meaning the body of believers, as a living and holy sacrifice, all with one unified goal of preaching the gospel and salvation through Christ. So we are a dying sacrifice in the fact that we die to self and living for the whole. Holy in the sense that we have been made blameless, clean, and innocent. And acceptable to God. So this idea of presenting your bodies as a living and holy sacrifice, so we're going to live daily, right? And not live and die daily, but a living sacrifice, pure and blameless. So, and that's through our salvation through Christ. So, and that's how we are acceptable to God. That's how we're acceptable to God, which is our spiritual, our own individual spiritual service of worship, and also our spiritual service of worship is not only through salvation, but through our divine expression of service through what we do, through what I do. So then my question to myself is, how do I die to self daily? And how do we as a church daily die to self, will, and desire? Blameless and pure before God. As the church body and individually, we are in a battle of spiritual warfare daily, hour by hour. And I think that it's apparent around us this destruction and battle that goes on with people around us. Just the deterioration of what's good, right, and what is what's good and what's holy according to God. So how do I die to myself daily, and how do we as a church die to self, will, and desire? And I think that's something that we individually have to look at, and then corporately as a whole, when we meet at our church, we talk about those things openly. We need to continue to come together in service, asking for forgiveness in our imperfections, in a constant state of worship, laying down self, sacrificing that side of us for the good of the kingdom of God. For each of us individually, that may be different in some ways, but overall there are many constants in how we live our life as believers, as a whole. I know for myself, if I fail daily, I'm letting the whole body of believers down. And more importantly, I'm not fulfilling my vows I gave God when accepting Christ as King of my life. Now, does that mean that he is no longer king of my life? No. Does it mean I lose my salvation? No. It just means that through forgiveness I live. My desire for God and my duty to God continue on regardless of mistakes. And that's through forgiveness. So, I have in here some notes, and I'm just going to read through them on this serious and the mercies of God, right? And the first quotes that I'm going to read are out of Believer's Bible Commentary, and this is in particular to Romans 12, verse 1. Serious and devout consideration of the mercies of God as they have been set forth in chapters 1 through 11 of Romans leads to only one conclusion. We should present our bodies as a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to God. Our bodies stand for all our members and, by extension, our entire lives. Total commitment is our reasonable service. It is our reasonable service in this sense. If the Son of God has died for me, then the least I can do is live for him. If Jesus Christ be God and died for me, said the great British athlete C.T. Studd, then no sacrifice can be too great for me to make for him. Reasonable service may also be translated spiritual worship. As believer priests, we do not come to God with the bodies of slain animals, but with the spiritual sacrifice of yielded lives. We also offer to him our service, our praise, and our possessions. Now, I also have been reading and going through a book for the past pretty much year, side by side. It's a commentary. It's called The Story Retold by G.K. Beale and Benjamin Glad. I think it's got a lot of great stuff in it. So I'll read out of I'll just read some of their quotes out of there. Serving the church, Romans 12, verses 1 through 21. In contrast to pagan Gentiles in Romans 1, 18 through 32, who worship creation and exchange the glory of the incorruptible God for an image, believers are to be conformed to the image of Christ. Such individuals are conformed to the false image of the world. Believers, however, are to be conformed to the image of Christ. Believers are exhorted to be renewed in their existence as a new creation and not deterred by the old idolatrous age. Those who have trusted in Christ and have begun to regain the image of God designed for true humanity will not ultimately succumb to idolatry, since they have been decisively delivered from the effects of a distorted divine image. They will be conformed to God's image until the resurrection, when God fully refashions their image at the end of the age. So, that's what I had for today. I'm just going to keep it pretty basic, rereading a bunch of stuff and just working through it. So every time I read the Bible, there's definitely new stuff to learn. So that's what I have for today. And I'm hoping to do this daily, and I'm going to try and make these a little bit shorter videos, I think. but I'll do my best on that. But I don't know if I'm going to get through as many verses as I used to. I'll try to do this maybe one-off verses, but we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. Anyways, have a blessed day. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.